GitHub Issues. In this video, I'm going to go over GitHub Issues, what they are, and how we use them in this class, because we're going to actually abuse them a little bit. So we're going to use the GitHub Issues for a little bit more than what they're intended for, but that's fine. It's not too bad. So if you're not familiar with where they are, so here's a Git repo called Sandbox. And if you click over to the Issues tab, you'll find the GitHub Issues there. So this is what we're talking about. You can create new issues. When you click on them, you can go to an issue. And then there's like, each issue is like a conversation page. So you can write comments. Everybody in the team can write comments. They get appended here. And at some point, you close the issue, which means it's done. So the basic idea of a GitHub issue, and the main reason we use them is for coordination. So what you want to do is figure out what things need to get done. Each one of those things becomes an issue, and you create a separate issue for each one of those things, and then each issue gets assigned to a person, one person usually, and that person does it. When they do it, it gets closed. That's generally, but there are variations on that theme that we're going to talk about. So you got that coordination. You can also use them to communicate. So because it's not just the creation of the issue, then once after you create it and you start working on it, you can keep adding things to the issue. You can just write a comment, say, oh, what I did today on this. So I worked on this. This is what I got done. If you have a commit, you can automatically link it there. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So you can use the issues themselves, not just as static things, but as conversations and little progress reports, just to show what progress has been made. And then that becomes super useful as a project memory function, right? So what happens is, if you have a real company with a real project that goes on for many years, the individual people in that project move, right? So you don't have the same developers. And so you can go into a project, you can spend, a whole week working on one particular bug. Eventually you figure it out, and you can document that in your issue, the different things you tried and why you went this way or that way, and you choose to do it this way, etc. And that's all there. So 2 years from now, 3 years from then, somebody else comes and they find the same problem or a similar problem. They can do the little search and go back here and do a search on issues. You can do the search as I showed before, and for search for that bug or that feature that you are implementing, find your issue, and then you have a history of why that decision was made or why that bug was fixed in that way, etc. So not going to be that part is not going to be super useful for this class, because it's just 2 semesters, not that long to build a lot of project memory. But this is really a big reason why companies like to use them. And when you join a company, it's one of the first things you're going to use, because you're going to be the new person there, and you're going to want to go and search to see if this problem had been solved 3 years before by somebody else, and try to copy that. So that's why we use them. So let's go back to the issues. So let me just create an issue. So you can create a new issue. The title should describe what needs to get done. So add new persona named. So it's one of our milestones. And then so you create a title that describes what needs to get done. You assign somebody. So generally, sometimes you create it, you don't assign anybody right away. You kind of discuss that, or you can create it and assign yourself. Say, this is what I'm going to be working on. The labels, there's enhancement is something that gets added to the program. So when you're starting out, basically everything is an enhancement because you got nothing. So everything is something else. Mark that as an enhancement, but there's other ones like bug. When you find a bug, duplicate, invalid, etc. And the question is a good one that you can use. So if you have your issue is really just a question, that this could be like, I'm asking the team a question, I might create one label a question, that's just a question for the team, for all of you. or the other way, you can create one and have a question. You want to assign that to me, you can create a question, assign it to me, and I'll try to answer it. Then you submit it. So it gets created. Each issue has a unique number. So they start at the number 1 and just goes forward from there. So I'm up to 112 in this little repo here. And that's what you're going to use to refer this. So number, 112 in this case, and it's a special thing that GitHub understands. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Finally, there's the milestone. So you see, I didn't assign this to any milestones, but a milestone is a deadline. So I just assigned it to the milestone M1 in this case. So you can go back to issues and then it'll show you, a new persona with the label and the milestone. Then I can go over here to the milestones and see all my milestones or deadlines and how many issues I have associated with that milestone, how many are open and how many are closed. So like I said, milestones are just deadlines. You can click on one of them here and edit a milestone. You can associate the due date with a milestone and provide a little description for them. So you can create new milestones. You can also create your own labels. So some of these are the ones that I started with, and they give you some standard ones. We have in this class, I use 2 labels that I ask people to create, or I'll create them. Called, you have a client label, which is for client interaction. So this is if you have a client team, you have a client, and they send you some information, an email or whatever. You want to keep that, so you can just cut and paste it into an issue and label a client, and just maybe close it or leave it open for a while if you want to discuss that. So just to keep information from your client. And the README one is one that I and the TAs will be using. So we'll create this README label, and it just means that this issue is just meant for you to read. So typically we'll do this when we're giving you some feedback on a milestone. So we'll give you some feedback there and label it README. All you have to do is read it and close it. So that's how we're, abusing the issues. Not really meant for READMEs, but it works out pretty well for us. But yeah, feel free to add more labels if you want. So if you want to get more detail, create more labels, go ahead. So note that in the source control milestone, starting on, I'm going to ask you to create all the milestones for this semester. So I already have milestones for this class. So these are the milestones for this class right here. And you should just create one for each one of these. You should create the equivalent in your GitHub repo. So just go over here, go over here, and then create a new milestone and do that for each one of the milestones for this semester. So notifications. Some things that students are not aware, people new to GitHub are not aware of, are the fact that, you can click over here at the top right there and see your notifications. What you're going to see here, this is basically like your email inbox. But so whenever somebody comments on an issue that you're watching, you're going to see something here and you can mark them as read or, done. So you can mark things as either read or unread or done or not done. So you can have things here that you have read but are not done, so you still need to work on it. Anyway, it's just like an email inbox, but with a lot of tags here. It comes in very, very handy once you have a lot of issues. So use that. Remember to be watching your repo. Everybody should be watching the repos. If I go back here to code, here, over here it says whether I'm watching or not watching. So this is not what it should be for you. So I'm not watching this repo, but you should definitely be watching your repo. So that means that you're notified of anything that happens in your repo. And it'll appear here under notifications. Then you can then go under settings here, under your profile, under settings down here, and change whether you want those notifications to just be on the website or do you want to get actual emails notification. And you want to use the @Jose and Vidal, that's my username, or @instructors, that's me and the TAs, to contact us. So the way this works is, if you're anywhere on an issue, say I'm on this issue here, and I can say, hey, instructors, please help with this. And if you submit that, then we will then get a notification. So everybody in the instructors group in this case, but more generally, or that person will get notified. So if you put in my name or my username, I will get notified. So some conventions that we use. So these are things I'm going to be doing in this class with issues that are not necessarily part of GitHub that other people don't do. So every other week I will add an issue with the title, something like progress report for October 1st and the label question. So I'll explain a little bit when I add it in the actual issue, but what this means is, I'm asking for a progress report for everything that has been done up to October 1st. And so you'll have up to 3 days after October 1st to reply. When you do, you reply, so you get that issue there, you add your progress report and you close it up to 3 days after, October 1st. So that'll be October 4th. And that's it. So it's just, our progress report, a little, summary of what the whole team has done in the last 2 weeks up to that point. Now I will add these myself, so they'll appear, and hopefully you'll know now what I'm talking about. But if you don't, just comment on the issue, and I will respond. So I took that. These are milestones. I covered that. The label question is very useful for your own research. So especially early on this semester, one of the things you might do is research the various technologies. So for example, you can be like, well, AWS or Google Cloud, which one are we going to use? And let me just do that. So I can just create a new issue here, AWS. Which one? I'm going to assign it to myself. So I say I'm the one who's going to do this research, and I can just give it the label question. I can submit that new issue, and then as I do my research, so if I find some information, I just cut and paste it here, so the whole team can see it. So the whole team can see, I put some URLs in there about I found this, I found that, and then eventually maybe I'll write something about, well, given what we found, I think it'll just be easier to use this one, and that's my decision. And the team, at that point, the team can either say yes or no, or if you want to get fancy, I think we should use Google Cloud. Vote or so just vote up or down. I comment, and then what happens is then other people can go here and vote up or down on that, or you can add your reactions to it. And in fact, even GitHub will actually even just count this for you, so you don't have to count. So close an issue when you're done. So I don't know. Sometimes I find that people sometimes wait for permission to close something. Don't. So if you're assigned to it, you own it, you close it when you think you're done. Remembering, of course, that they're never gone. They're just closed, so we can always go back to another issue. This is a progress report, and reopen that issue. So just close it. If somebody really needs to reopen it, they can reopen it. You can close issues with a commit message or a pull request. So here is you can click over to the documentation, but basically if on your git commit, you can git commit message. If you write closes number 5 in that message, or fixes number 5, or some other stuff, check out the documentation. When you push that to GitHub, it will automatically close issue number 5 in GitHub. That's pretty cool, right? You can also link multiple issues to the same issue by just mentioning it. So if you just write number 5 without the magic word in front of it, it will link them. So let's see how that works. I am going to create a new issue, I'll call it update readme, and assign myself to it. This is an enhancement. So this is going to be now issue number, submit issue number 114. So if I go here, I can update the readme, update it. So you can see it's updated. And then I'm going to commit that. And then I'm going to use the issue number, which I already forgot, 1114. So I'm just going to put 1114 in the commit message there. I push that to GitHub. And then I can go here. You see it's not there. I have to reload the page. And then you'll see it just magically appears there. My actual commit appears under the issue 114. So that is a nice quick way of saying that hey, I did some work, I committed some code for this issue, and boom, there it is. And you might have to do this many times before you get to the last one that says closes 114. So you might update it, and then finally, okay, I'm done. But what happens then is people can come in the middle of while you're working, and they can see that you're doing work for that. When what you have done, you can click over to the commit and see what I did. You can also break up an issue using this task list. So if you have a complex feature, implement. So obviously you won't write that, you write the actual feature. But if it's broken into multiple parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, you can use this special syntax. So the important thing is this bar dash space bracket. And once you commit it, you see it changes over to these little checkboxes, which you can check. And you can even move these things around if you want. And also, when you go back to issues here, you can see it says 1 out of 3 where this is done. So you want these to be like really, really small things. So this is useful for when you're implementing a web page with multiple, say, boxes or whatever. And then you might have list each one of the little boxes that needs to get added, or each one of the smaller things that needs to get done. And if one issue refers to another, so if you put number 1 in issue number 2, then they're going to get linked together automatically in the GitHub in the issue itself. So not just a link from 1 to 2, but also a link from 2 to 1 will appear on the other one, which is pretty cool. Finally, if you really want to do it, you can create one of these project boards. There's a whole thing on this, and I'll just quickly show you how this works. They're called projects here. I can create a new project. You should typically just have one project, so you can call it coding, and you can use your basic Kanban. So that just creates some standard columns for it. And this is typically what it looks. So the minimal project or Kanban board, if you're not familiar with these, just has 3 columns: a to do, in progress, and done. So up here, these are the issues that need to get done. You can have cards too, which are just, text, and also add some automation. You can read about that later if you get into this. So let me just delete this one. So over here are my issues, and so I can move my issues, just drag and drop them to my to-do list. Say, okay, these are all the things I need to get done. And then the main thing is, the main reason you might want to do this is just because now I can move things from to-do to in progress. So if you have a lot of issues in your to-do, like you have 20 issues in your to-do list, but you're only going to be working on one, so you have 5 people on the team, so at most there'll be 5 issues in progress at any one time. So this lets you see quickly, what are the things that people are working on right now. So that's kind of neat, and it is useful. So then you can go back to go back to my GitHub issues here and open a new tab. Which one did I put in progress? The implementing complex feature 115 is in progress. You can see that it says projects coding in progress. So I can quickly see that that one is in progress there. So it is useful, and then I can go back to the board and see which things are in progress. So that is the minimum thing, and it is fairly useful to have this to do and in progress, and then once you close the issue, it moves to done, right? So maybe this one is done here. It's done. And then you can get more complicated. So instead of just having a general to-do list, you can break this up into, the next things we're going to work on, and then longer term, after those things. I like to have usually a blocked column. So I call it blocked issues, meaning that these are things that are really to do, but I can't start working on them because before I work on this issue, I have to close something else, right? So basically, we can't work on these issues because another issue needs to get closed, or maybe because I need some information from, the client or something else from outside. So you have a blocked column, a to do, in progress, done. That's also a good one. And that's it.